all you have to do is look around you. Because if you're not totally abundant, as a matter of fact, if you're not opulent, you don't have money to do everything that you want to do and money to contribute to the charities and the people that you care about. If you aren't in a rewarding intimate relationship, and if your relationships in general aren't rewarding, then you're sabotaging them. Then your energy is inconsistent with attracting into your life the relationships that you want. If your work isn't fulfilling, if your health is suffering, if you're not comfortable with your appearance, if you don't have a rich spiritual life, if you don't have a fulfilling personal development program that you're pursuing, if you're not having fun and you're not pursuing your passions and you're not recreating on a regular basis. So all you have to do is look around you, and if your life isn't a 12 on a scale from 1 to 10, then you're lacking self-esteem, and by having a positive expectation and taking definitive, specific action to bring about your dream life in any of the 6 key areas of life, you now can manifest your dreams on purpose. What you can do to live a balanced life is to look at all 6 key areas of life: your health and appearance, your wealth and your finances, your occupation or your business, your family and your other relationships outside your family, your personal and spiritual development arenas, and the area of having fun and pursuing your passions and recreating. And if any of those areas is not at the top of the scale to your liking, then you can look at what's missing that if put into place would support you to enhance that area.
So it's safe to say that probably the majority of people do in some area have a lack of self-esteem. I know that you've got a technique or ways of dealing with negative self-talk which can hold you back from all sorts of things, can block you from the road to success, wealth, happiness. What would be your number one technique for stopping the negative self-talk that holds people back?
Well, there's 2 components to the technique. And the first is the ability to recognize and then manage your interpretations aggressively. So what we mean is that we all have it that when someone says or does something, we hear exactly what they say and we respond in alignment with what we hear. And that's not true. What we do is we respond in alignment with our interpretations of what was said or done. So we have a tendency as a species to collapse what was said or done, the facts of what actually happened, with our interpretation. So we apply meaning to what was said or done in a way that allows us to react emotionally, gives us an emotional reactive mood, so to speak. And for most people, that mood is anger. And if you look at the state of the world today, all you have to do is see the state of chaos that's out there, and you'll see that most people are in this angry, reactive mood. But many people, the anger is unacceptable, and so there's 280 million people who are addicted to sadness. And then the third group are people who live out of fear. And so what happens is that when someone says or does something, we have a tendency to make something up that gives us the reactive emotional state that we are prone to. So, for example, my reactive emotional state is indignant anger. So whenever someone would, quote unquote, do something to me, I would react angrily. And I would scan for and find people who would do things to me that would make me angry, quote unquote, because no one was really doing them to me. I was just finding opportunities to go to that reactive state, which was familiar and comfortable and made me feel powerful when I was in it, and I could control and dominate others and avoid being dominated when I was angry. But many people have that same situation with fear. They are afraid of everything. They worry about everything. They scan for opportunities to worry about the economy, about their relationships, about their job. You name it, they're worried about something. And the same with sadness. There are people who are addicted to sadness. These are people who will attract people into their lives and situations that make them sad because they don't like being sad, but it's comfortable, it's familiar. They get to avoid responsibility for it. They get to be in their pity mode, and they get to stay stuck in that sad mode. You can't blame them. I'm sad. You can't blame me. I'm depressed. That sort of thing. So the key is to, one, separate out facts from interpretations. What did someone say or do that landed you in one of those upset states? So first, identify what your common upset is. And the best way to do that is to keep a journal, to log all of the times that you're upset and identify, is it a form of anger, sadness, or fear that you're prone to? Do you constantly go to one of those states and describe it? Is it indignant anger? Is it frustrated anger? Is it raging anger? Is it depressed sadness? Is it forlorn sadness? Is it angry sadness? Or is it a form of fear? Is it worry? Or is it full-blown abject fear? So once you identify what your common reactive state is, you can start to recognize that the interpretations that you're making up about what people say or do in the moment of upset that land you in that state. So, for example, someone says or does something, you immediately become angry. Okay, so now you say, you go through the process of recognizing the angry state. You ask yourself, am I willing to release the emotion? Either the answer is yes or no. Many times the emotion will be so powerful, like a heroin addiction, that you won't be willing to release it. You'll rather be angry, but there are costs to that anger. There are costs to the sadness. There are costs to the fear. And you lose your life. You lose your ability to be happy. You lose your relationships, or your communication suffers when you go to the default, which is the angry reactive state. So if you're willing to release the emotion, you count backward from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. You release the anger. You release the sadness. You release the fear, whatever that predominant emotion is. And you ask yourself, am I willing to create a new interpretation that is emotion-free about what Susie just said or what Johnny just did? So you create a new interpretation. So I'll give you an example. Someone is smoking a cigar in the restaurant. My first reaction would be, how dare you smoke this cigar? Don't you know that smoking kills people? Don't you know that secondhand smoke is dangerous? Don't you know that people hate smoke? Well, that would get me in a riled up state. I would get angry. Maybe I'd tell someone off. Maybe I'd do something that I would regret later. I would damage a relationship, for example. What I could do is create a new interpretation that keeps me in a relationship. I could think, what is it like for this person, for example, that has them smoke a cigar? Okay, so what could I do in a way that maybe honors me and honors them? Maybe I could request to move my seat. Maybe I could request that they might smoke it outside. I could make a request that honors everyone involved. So what we do now is we take responsibility for our communication. We take responsibility for keeping the relationship intact. So when we do that, we are not operating out of an angry or a sad or a worrisome state. We're acting in accordance with what serves us best in the situation. So we've released the emotion, we've created a new interpretation, and we've taken action that supports the relationship. So that's the first part of managing the negative self-talk. It's about managing the interpretation in the moment. The second part is actually then to replace the negative self-talk with an affirmation and an acknowledgement. So we replace it with something that serves us. We replace the thought that we had that someone's doing this to me with, they're just doing it, and I happen to be here and noticing it. So what is it like in their world, with empathy for what they're going through, that they would do such a thing? Now, we're not condoning bad behavior, but what we're doing is we're having an appreciation for why people do the things that they do, such that it takes the sting out of it so that they're not doing it to us any longer. So when we can separate ourselves from that, and we can replace the negative thought with an affirming thought, a thought that affirms who we are and our relationship, who the person is, then we can move forward in a way that supports us. We can move forward in a way that has no negative emotive states to it. And we can acknowledge ourselves for doing so at the time, so that we're building self-esteem in the process. Or maybe acknowledge someone else for the contribution that they've been to us in that moment. So that's basically the tool.